Hey, thanks so much for spending your time here at the Blackmagic booth, everybody. We really appreciate it. How's everybody's third day of the show going? Feet are getting a little tired at this point, but we're all taking a rest? Yeah. So what we've done in DaVinci Resolve 15 is we've integrated Fusion as a tab into DaVinci Resolve. We've implemented about, I want to say 60% of the tools so far. More are going to be coming down the road. We're working with a 12 to 18 month roadmap until we have complete Fusion integration. We're going to continue to support Fusion 9, and when the time comes where we feel comfortable to say, Fusion is 100% there and ready in Resolve, we're going to let you guys know. For now, we're going to show you some of the new features on the Fusion page, and then we're going to go over some of the new edit and color tools as well. Feel free to break out into thunderous applause whenever you feel necessary. Thank you very much. So the great thing about Fusion is it's right here next to the Edit tab. So when we're editing our timeline, all we have to do to go over to the Fusion tab is just hover over a clip, click on the Fusion tab, and we're instantly met with two nodes, a loader and a saver. In this case, the loader node is our clip, and the saver node is an instruction to pipe back into the timeline. So unlike Fusion beforehand, where you had to render the clip, have a file to then import into your nonlinear editor, and put that in your timeline, as soon as you're finished your comp, you just click back to the edit page, and your work's going to be there. So let's go ahead and let's build a comp. This movie is called Hyperlight. It's a short film about this astronaut who wakes up in a mysterious spaceship pod, and she doesn't know why, and she has to find her way back. So what we need to do in this comp is find a way to make it seem like she's enclosed in a glass pod. Now, on the Fusion page, and how many Fusion users do we have by any chance? Has anyone seen Fusion before? Not that many, so that's really cool. How about the color page, though? How many of you guys are familiar with the color page? All right, a few more hands. Great. So we have an icon thumbnail list of all of our clips right here. We also have access to the entire media pool as if we're on the edit page. So let me go ahead and find my Hyperlight assets. Spin. I'm just going to go ahead and find the graphic that I'm looking for. There we go. So I have this GUI graphic that's been made beforehand, and I want to add this into our comp. All I have to do is drag and drop my clip right over my node graph, and Fusion knew to automatically merge these two clips together. The green line stands for a foreground, and the yellow line stands for a background. So go ahead and move this mouse real quick. So we have our foreground and our background, and Fusion knows to merge them together into this output right here. So the way Fusion's node graph works, it's like building with Lego blocks. Instead of dealing with layers, where you have to frequently copy and paste and parent and group certain layers together, Fusion gives you a clear flow chart so you can adequately map and clearly see how your effects are affecting each other. So we're going to take this one step further. What I want to do here is I want to blur this graphic so to create a depth of field illusion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in the middle of space here, and I'm going to click on this blur node right here. We have a toolbar of frequently used nodes at our disposal to click on, and they'll appear in our node tree. So if I click on blur, I'm going to hit shift, click and drag, and when I hit shift, I have the ability to pop a node into our tree. So these two viewers that we're seeing right here, these are resolution independent. So I can put any node and view anything in any viewer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the number 1, or I can take this blur node and just drag it up into this viewer. And I'm going to be able to see the node media in2, which is our graphic, with the blur effect. We're going to go ahead and change our blur to something a little bit mild, just like that. And you can see how I'm viewing it two different ways at the same time. The next thing we're going to do is add some paint into the shot. So I'm going to go ahead, and this time I'm going to hit Shift Spacebar, which brings up our search tool. And I can type in paint, and then I'll add a background because I need to paint on something. And in this case, I'm going to paint on a background. What I'm going to do to the background is I'm going to make it transparent. Just like that, I'm going to go ahead and add one more merge node. Pardon me. Let's add a merge node this way. Let's shift spacebar, add this right here. I'll pipe the paint into the merge, the background into the paint, and now we're ready to paint. So when I click on my paint tool, we can see that this new toolbar just came up meant for this specific effect. So I'm going to select my brush stroke, and what I can do is hit Command, click and drag to make my brush stroke larger. Let's go ahead and shrink my node graph a little bit so we can see a little bit more of this clip. I'm going to click a little bit right here, click a little bit right there, drag across right here, and we have our paint. Now what I can do is go to the merge tool, and I can change the blend mode to overlay. And just like that, we have specular highlights over our glass pod. So even if you've never done visual effects before, if you're new to compositing softwares, or if you're used to layer-based compositing software, it's really clear to see that we started with our background clip, we added a graphic, we blurred it, and we merged these together, and then after the fact, we painted an invisible background onto the shot, and here's our output. So again, like building with Lego blocks. Anyone can do this, it's super easy. Once we're done with our Fusion comp, we pop back over to the edit page, and there's our effect. Just like that. No exporting, no rendering, no conform in, no conform out. Working at the highest level possible in different crafts, different art forms at the same time in Davinci Resolve 15. Let's take it one step further. Let's do a very common effect that a lot of us have to do in our edit rooms, a chroma key. So as you can see, we have a foreground and a background right here. I'm going to pop over to the Fusion page. I'm going to quickly hit Shift Spacebar, search for our delta keyer. And for the delta keyer, I'm going to select my background color that I want to key out, hit OK, and now we have a transparent key. What I can do is I can view this in an alpha mode, and then I can go ahead and change the threshold to get a really clean key. The delta keyer is one of our newer keyers and one of our better keyers in Fusion. It's very fast and easy to use. So we have our key. Let's hop back over to the edit page. It's just going to use the information of what's underneath. Just like that, we've very easily keyed out our subject with great, great precision. Anybody feel like clapping? That's pretty cool. All right, great. Yeah. So let's go ahead and look at some motion graphics now, which is personally my favorite part. Fusion can work in a complete 3D environment if you wanted to. So what we're going to do over here, let's pop over to the Fusion page. I have this nice shot of this spaceship floating away. It's the perfect spot for our 3D motion graphic title shot. All right, so let's go ahead and drag our node tree over here. The first thing I'm going to do is break this chain for now. And what I want to do is I want to take media 1, I want to put it on a 3D image plane. That's taking any clip, creating a 3D environment, and saying this is going to be a flat image plane. So let's go ahead and type image. There we go, image plane 3D. Let's pop this in viewer 1, and now we can see that I'm working within a 3D space. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can option, middle click and drag. I'm in a complete 3D environment. The next thing I'm going to do is put this image plane 3D into a merge 3D node. Now we looked at the merge before. A merge 3D is our merge for a 3D environment. And every single element we add into this comp, we're going to pipe into our merge 3D node. So let's go ahead and add our 3D text, which we have right up here. We'll shift spacebar here to first add our 3D merge. Let's pipe our 3D text into our merge. We'll put the 3D merge in viewer 2, and we'll put the 3D text into viewer 1. Now we're met with this 3D text. Let's go ahead and change the text to the title of the movie, Hyperlight. Let's go ahead and change the font to something a little bit more science fiction. Let's go ahead and change the color. We're going to make it orange. And let's go ahead and shrink the size down. We're going to shrink the size down a lot right here. So let's go ahead and zoom in. As you can see, we're in a complete 3D environment. And if I want to see my text up close to edit my text, I have a nice close view of my text right there. Let's go ahead and click back to here so we can have a nice straight-on view of our motion graphic. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a light, because what would a 3D motion graphic be without a light? So we're going to go ahead and add a spotlight, and we're going to enter that in our Merge 3D. Now right now, the light is further back there, so let's go ahead and bring this out a little bit. Let's change our view. We're going to bring our light further back, just like that. Now what I'm going to do now, if we view the Merge 3D, let's view the spotlight. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to widen the cone angle. I'm going to lower the intensity and change the penumbra angle, which is going to soften the light for us. And let's increase the intensity a little bit. That's better, just like that. So let's go ahead and zoom in past the light, and now we can see our nice 3D text affected by light. So what I can do now is make our 3D text 3D. All I have to do is go into my 3D text, and let's go down here into our extrusion controls. Just so you can see how the light is affecting this comp, I can go ahead and I can change the bezel depth, the bevel depth, the bevel width, and just like that, our text is now 3D and accepting light. So the next thing I want to do is animate my text, right? So we're going to do some animating, we're going to do some keyframing. The cool thing about animating text in Fusion is that we can animate in 3 different ways. We can animate based off of the lines, or the words, or the characters, independently of each other. So if we go over to our 3D text again, we can make keyframes across our timeline. And at timeline 0, let's go ahead into our, let's scroll up here, into our transform, and let's go to characters, and then rotation. On the y-axis, I want to go ahead and turn my 3D characters about -90 degrees. Let's select a keyframe. Now let's go to frame 90, and let's go ahead and reset that. So now we have our nice y-axis keyframe. Next, let's go to spacing. For frame 0, I'd like my characters to be nice and far apart. And then in frame 90, let's reset. Whoop. What did I forget to do, everybody? Forgot to make a keyframe. Click on the keyframe tool right there. Let's go to frame 90, reset. So now I have 2 axes of movement with my text. Last but not least, let's go to frame 0. Let's go ahead and go to the center Z axis. Let's move the center Z out very far. Make a keyframe. Go to frame 90, reset. So let's play that back. Let's change our options right here for viewing. Let's go to frame 0. We're going to play back. And just like that, our text comes in right over, affected by the light as it is keyframed across the y-axis, spacing, and the z-axis. So, oh, thank you very much. I didn't even get to the part where you need to clap yet, right? But thank you. I'll take whatever we can get. The next thing we're going to talk about is the spline editor and the keyframe editor, because as we all know, rough, quick keyframes like that, they look okay, but everything needs to be smoothed out to some degree. And as soon as you keyframe something in Inspector, there's more advanced tools that need to be done to get a really good key going, a really good 3D graphic going. So at this point, I want to go ahead and open up my spline editor. Let's get rid of the inspector for a moment. Now, the spline editor is what we're going to use to adjust our keyframes. If I click Text 3D1 right here, Just like that, I can see every keyframe associated with my graphic. Now we have all kinds of tools. We have smoothing tools, zooming tools, crunching tools, all kinds of tools that can be used to affect and adjust your keyframes. So what we're going to do right now is just highlight a box over all of our keyframes. I'm going to go ahead and press smooth, and just like that, all of our keyframes have been smoothed with Bezier handles. So I can adjust a steep fall off with a smooth recovery. So let's go ahead and take a look now. Nice and smooth, way smoother. So let's get rid of the spline editor, and we might decide later on that I want my text to come in after the space pod swooshes away, because it would be a lot more dynamic of a shot if the spaceship comes out and then my text comes in. So we can do this really easily because it's really easy to edit our keyframes on the Fusion tab. So let's go back to the 3D text, and let's go to our keyframe editor this time. Keyframe editor is a great little box that pops up that allows us to animate and move our keyframes around. Let's drop down text 3D. Let's go ahead and highlight all 6 of our keyframes. Now let's go to the frame where the spaceship goes away, right there. And let's just go ahead and click and drag our keyframes to come in right there. So now, the spaceship swooshes by, and just like that, we have a 3D motion graphic in Fusion. Thanks. Come a long way in a couple of years from what you could do on the editorial side in Resolve, and Fusion is a really big part of that. Editors can use Fusion, colorists can use Fusion. We've all heard the story of the colorist at a facility who started as an editor, started tweaking with the color tools in their office, fell in love with it, and then ended up growing into that as a career. Now, every editor and colorist that uses Davinci Resolve is going to have access to world-class visual effect tools. If you're working in a large facility, this is going to save you a lot of money in having to skip the conform process in and out of certain applications. And if you're an independent artist or an independent filmmaker working on your movie, you're only limited by your imagination. You're only limited by what tool you want to learn next. So that's a little bit about the Fusion side. Let's go ahead and check out some editing and the color tools first. All right, by round of applause, who wants to see the edit stuff first? All right, who wants to see the color stuff first? All right, editors, you win this time. Colorists will win tomorrow. Live another day. Here we go. So let's go over to the edit page. It's great to see also that, play this back, here we go. Oh, what we also need to do is switch the timeline. Edit, there we go. Cool. So let's look at some of the new edit pages. I'm going to open up my media pool here. We have a dual pane edit system now where you can view 2 panes at the same time in the media pool. That's really great to have. Another great tool we added to the edit page are stacked timelines. So not only can I have timeline tabs where I can jump between timelines, but I can actually have timeline stacks where I can have unlimited stacks of timelines running at the same time. I can compare shots, I can compare media. If you have a 30-second and 2 15-second promos, and you want to take some of the 15-second material, move it up to your 30-second, all you have to do is grab your clip and just drag up, and that's all it takes to copy and paste between stacked timelines now. In addition, Davinci Resolve now has really phenomenal built-in text titles from Fusion. So for instance, we have a lower third simple underline, and we also have 3D lower thirds as well. So we have, for instance, a 3D lower third plane sliding in. Let's drop that right over here. So we have lots of 3D text templates built right there into Fusion, as well as regular titles. Let's go ahead and decompose our stack timeline so we have a little bit more space to work here. And I want to go ahead and, let's get that back and let's delete this stack. There we go. We also have regular old, I shouldn't say regular old, we have lots of 3D Fusion templates for titles that we've built and put in the effects library in DaVinci Resolve. Not only have we put the text templates in there, but we've put the node trees in there for you to use in Fusion. So we're happy to say that when it comes to titles and graphics in Resolve, sky's the limit. We have these different cube reveal texts where you can place your own logo in that cube right there. Other 3D titles. You can input your own text and your own parameters in all of these motion graphics. And of course, the superhero movie title. So we've actually put the node trees in Fusion. So what you can do is take these node trees, put them on the Fusion page, and you can see how we built these comps, how we merged everything together, how we used our particle generators and emitters. So you can backwards engineer them and learn how to make these yourself. Last but not least, let's take a look over at the color page. We have a brand new LUT viewer that's going to allow you to hover over LUTs in real time that are going to hover over the viewer. Instead of clicking, well, let's click, go to this LUT menu, see what this LUT looks like. You can just hover over every LUT in your library now and pick out which one you want for your clip or for your timeline. We have a new shared node feature that allows you to save your color corrections. Pardon me. Allows you to share your color corrections, savable as a shared node. I can go anywhere else in the timeline and add that shared node anywhere else. I can unlock it, and then every time I affect that node, every clip that uses that node is going to change as well. You can see how these thumbnails are rippling back and forth. So instead of making so many groups, if you don't want to group certain shots together, you can use shared nodes to quickly share information between clips. I also want to show you my personal favorite tool, the new timeline page in the gallery. Instead of scrolling back and forth to get clips saved as a still so you can access those color grades, if you have a 2-hour-long feature film and you need to access a still from 30 minutes ago, it's a lot of scrolling and scrubbing to get access to make a still or save a memory to access that color information. But now, every single clip in every single timeline in your entire project is accessible under this new menu item, this new timeline menu item in the gallery. So I can access every single clip from scene 4. I'll find the clip I want to apply the color grade to, right-click, apply grade, as if it's any other kind of still. So now colorists are going to spend a lot less time saving stills and a lot more time doing actual color grading. It's a really big advancement for DaVinci Resolve 15. Additionally, we have a wonderful new composite preview mode. Now, anyone who's ever used a layer mixer will be able to tell you that once you need to actually pick your composite mode, it's about clicking, seeing what that does, just like the LUT feature I was telling you about before. With a live composite mode preview, now what we can do is scrub down. Let's try it on this clip over here. Pardon me 1 second. We're going to add a layer node. Blur, composite mode. Seems like we have a little bit of a bug. Let's open up a different timeline right here. There we go. Let's go ahead and add that layer mixer one more time. There we go. We'll view our blur, and then what we can do is change the composite mode. We have a live preview of every single blend mode as you scroll down, so you no longer have to click on the blend mode, see what that does, right-click the blend, again, pardon me, and repeat the process. Additionally, in Resolve, we have brand new IMF encoding and decoding with industry standard Kakadu JPEG 2000 image sequences. So if you're sharing to a streaming service, or if you're making your own unencrypted DCPs, it's never been easier. Davinci Resolve is available right now as a free public beta for the free version. If you're a Davinci Resolve Studio owner, you now have 15 public beta studio. You just go to our website and update the software. If you're interested in purchasing Davinci Resolve, it goes for $299, and you can either purchase the beta for 15 or the existing version, the most recent 14.3. That's it. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn with us, and I'll be sticking around if you guys have any questions. Thank you so much.